Hey there, welcome back to Leading from the Middle. I'm Helen Young-McLaughlin, and I am, as you know, if you've been tuned in, I am connecting with 23 different leaders this year to listen in and learn a little bit more about what they believe companies can do to transform middle managers into their most valuable asset. And I do this by asking one question, which naturally just kind of goes into these great conversations. So this has been a really special project to me. I want to introduce my guest this week, Lisa Michelsen, and she is a business advisory consultant to with a group called Slalom. Is that right, Lisa?
Yeah, Solon Consulting.
Thank you so much for being on here. I'm so glad that we get to learn a little bit about what you do. And I get to ask my burning question that I ask everyone. But real quick, Lisa, I know that you are an organizational development and change management specialist. But can you expand a little bit more about what you do, kind of share with our listeners?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me, Helen. This is really exciting. So Slalom is a business we have a business advisory part of our organization. We do a lot of technical work as well. And I'm part of their organizational effectiveness group. So we take organizational strategies from our clients and help build them into something new, whether it's a way of working, building out new departments, redesigning their organization based off of departmental needs or changes, instituting new AI components into their business, all kinds of things. So it's really a pretty awesome opportunity for me to be part of such a wonderful organization. Organizational development and change is just a part of organizational effectiveness, helping companies adopt and
Yes.
help the way that they help their employees through the ways that they work. So it's again, it's really cool. I get to work with a lot of technical people, and I've learned so much over the past year that I've been with Slalom. So it's very exciting.
That's awesome. And, you know, whenever you're helping support change management and creating those kind of strategic blueprints for what's to come, underneath you have this group of people that need to help ensure it actually happens.
Yeah.
And I know that you see this from the consultant's lens, but you've also been in positions where you've led teams as well, right?
Yeah, my previous organization, I ran the organizational development department. So I had project and program managers as part of my team, and we each had their own portfolio of work. So there was a lot less managing my people, but more leading them through some change or company-wide initiatives, but also just helping them see different ways in working with people where they had to lead through influence rather than authority, because we really didn't have authority to make people change. We couldn't just say, you have to take this new tool on, or you have to
Right.
just start doing your work this way. We had to help them see the benefits and help them make the decision that it was right for them. So it's really leading by influence rather than authority, even though I did manage a team of people.
Right. And the beautiful part of that, I haven't even gotten to my question yet, and I'm diving right in because I get all excited about this. But the beautiful part of that is we all have the capacity to, and lead with influence, right? If we have the right tools, if we can learn to navigate our communication in a certain way, it can create an effective outcome. Do you believe that's true?
Yeah, absolutely. And candidly, I think some people might be natural born leaders. I was not one of those. And I had to go through the maturity and, with different positions in different roles that I had took on throughout my career. And one, I, ran a foundation department. 10 people were under me, and I was really more of a manager. I directed the work, and that was really uncomfortable for me. But in that stage, early 30s, I didn't really know how else to do it. And I think I learned a ton by just organically and naturally fulfilling certain roles that felt comfortable and uncomfortable, whether it was through feedback, positive or negative, and just being more self-aware and people identifying that, lack of or need to grow into leadership versus managing people. I was very fortunate to have some coaches throughout the way.
Oh, yes, to coaching. I'm a little biased because I am a coach. But what I love about that, and I promise we're going to get to the question, is I didn't know how else to do it. That stood out to me from what you just said. And this is what I find with a lot of the people that I work with. we're just sort of winging it and figuring it out as we go. And I say we because I was there, right? I didn't have any guidance. I'm not saying I didn't have support. I'm not saying there weren't people that were mentor-ish to me. I didn't have any sort of direction to say, hey, I want you to take some time and think about how you approach it this way, or this is the best way to delegate. So I'm getting ahead of myself and I'm going to pause because there's one burning question I have, which is it ties directly to what we're talking about. What is one thing you think companies need to pay closer attention to when it comes to developing their managers?
Well, one thing is very hard to choose, but I have a couple, but I'll start with one.
Okay.
Really that feedback component, and everyone talks about feedback, but nobody honestly is really willing to give true feedback to people because your boss could give it to you and then you always have, well, but it happened because of this or because of that or because of this relationship or because that person. And it's really easy to deflect. But if you find a trusted advisor, somebody who you trust and is telling you what you need to hear, even if it's harsh feedback or a little critical, and you can hear it without becoming defensive because you trust that person. They're not just saying it to hurt your feelings or to not give you a raise or a promotion or something like that. There's no ill intention around it. It certainly would help you build that capacity, take that feedback on and grow from it. And also with that trusted advisor, if they're giving you that feedback, brainstorming around how you can use that feedback to change the way that you're working. And I really wasn't granted somebody that until my late 30s. And that's where I feel like I really started developing more leadership skills because, as you grow up, your parents tell you what to do. You have rules, you go to church or you don't go to church or you do this or you do that. And this is right and this is wrong. You don't, you're not always given the ability to have that free will to think for yourself. And I know as you grow through teen years, you rebel a little bit, but there's just not that place at least in my childhood where I was given more flexibility to make failures, make mistakes and learn from them, fail forward rather than back. And so I really didn't have that opportunity until I got a little bit older and I was in the working field and I love the work that I do, but I just didn't feel like I get it right. I wasn't impacting people the way that I really believed I could, but I just needed that skill. So finding, somebody that could dig a little bit deeper with me and find those pieces of myself that I know I just needed to pull forward instead of letting them sit in the background was very helpful. And the feedback was harsh at times. I'm not going to say there weren't times I cried because there were, but I think it was a very beneficial opportunity for me because now I have the confidence to lead and I know when people are giving me feedback, instead of taking it defensively like a manager would, I was defensive when I was a manager versus a leader, but now I'm like, wow, that's really great. I'm a little more self-aware about it. And then in the moment, I can pinpoint those ways, or I can ask people, hey, after a meeting, or if I felt like I just spoke really directly after a meeting, I can get that feedback directly from others. I don't need that trusted advisor anymore, even though it's very great to have still. But, in the moment, I have the confidence to ask for it. I'm really sorry if I impacted you negatively. Help me understand how I can do better next time, or how can I approach it next time so we both win, we both feel better about it, we both know where we're going.
This is amazing, Lisa.
For me being a consultant in each different project or client that I'm working with, there's someone potentially internal. We're on meetings together. I'm the own strategist, and typically I have other people playing roles in different parts to help the client achieve their goals. And it's building a relationship with somebody, ground floor. And we're both looking for that. And I come at it like I always come at it with integrity. And so, I want people to know that no matter what I say or do, it comes from the right place. It's not. And I think that's the one thing we kind of miss when we're establishing relationships. It's really understanding, nobody has an agenda, and some people do. Do not get me wrong. And those are the people, as soon as you realize that, that's a red flag. And then they're just not your trusted advisor, and that's okay. You find somebody that is and really has your best interests at heart, and vice versa. There's no way to grow unless you hear about the things that might be impacting people, or ways of doing things that might be a better way to do it to impact the people that you're trying to work with. And that just takes integrity. It takes, feedback, positive or negative. It takes influence, and it takes, just takes somebody to be really open and willing to take the willing to give it to you too. Because there are a lot of conflict adverse people, and you don't know that until the end of an engagement or something, and then they start saying terrible things, and you're like, whoa. So you never want to get in a position, and thankfully I have not been in that position, but I've heard of others that might have been in that, and it just does nobody any good, because then it's just criticism, and there's nothing you can do with it. It's completely invalid at that point. So really just being open-minded and wanting to grow. You have to want to develop yourself. You have to be open-minded, and you have to know it's not personal. And that, I think, is hard. You
also talked about feedback that sticks, because we can give feedback, and if the person doesn't hear it, then that doesn't do us any good. So feedback that sticks and motivates. And I think that takes time in order for us to build that confidence muscle. So how do you build that confidence muscle?
It's a great question. I'm still working on it myself.
Yes. It never ends, right?
No, it doesn't ever end. There's a STAR model when you're going to give somebody feedback. And I know it's like situational, targeted, and there's getting feedback and being aware, and then also feeling that emotion, understanding where you're meeting somebody at. So it's really meeting people where they are and understanding in that situation how you made them feel and what they could have done differently, and just being very specific. That's an important part of feedback, is being very specific. And in the moment is a really big piece. It's just very easy to take a breath, slow it down, state your specifics, what you're looking for and how it made you feel. And I think it's very impactful on the other end, because then it's about the specific instant. It's not about who the person is. And there's a big difference between those two things. But that's why I say it's not really a personal attack. People take it very personally, but it's not. It's about finding better ways to work together and leading each other through conflict, and also leading each other to the best outcomes of, whatever your client or whatever the project or however you're working with them.
I think that's great. I think we need to practice it consistently, not just in the moment when we have to have maybe a difficult conversation. The truth is, for most managers that I talk to, even ones that are seasoned, there is a discomfort in this. So Lisa, thank you so much for being here today, this week, and for sharing your nuggets of wisdom that I hope somebody else can take along with them. This is something that companies can help their managers to develop consistently over time. I love that you put it at the top of your list.
Thank you.
And it is ongoing, right? Like you and I are shaking our heads like, this doesn't stop, like when we're new in leadership. If you're on LinkedIn, right? So people can find you right there on LinkedIn.
Yes, please. Lisa Michelsen. Yep.
Reach out to Lisa, connect with her. She's amazing. She's so smart and she's so fun, and she's a great mom too. She's blushing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us and tuning in to another interview of Leading from the Middle. I'm really looking forward to hearing some feedback from you. I want to connect with you. You can connect with me directly on LinkedIn at Helen Young-McLaughlin. Just hit that hyphen in between Young and McLaughlin, or you can go to my website at helenyoungcoaching.com. Thanks again, and have a great day.